Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and in today's video we are going over 13 cars that people think are fast but are actually quite slow, at least when they're stock. Now I want to emphasize that really quick. I'm not saying that any of these cars are actually just like piss slow and are a horrible option for you to buy. As a matter of fact, a lot of these cars can be very quick, but that's kind of the reason why people think that they're quick when they're stock, even though they're actually not. They're relatively slow when they're stock. I hope that makes sense to people. I guess a song of the day, I didn't write down a song of the day today, so we're gonna have to do a random one. Song of the day is going to be Why Don't You Get a Job by The Offspring. That's a good song. It's a rock and roll song. If you like rock and roll, there you go. But without further ado, let's get right into the list with number 13. Coming in at the number 13 spot is going to any of the Toyota Celicas. The GTs, not the GT4s because they are fast, but any of the other Toyota Celicas that aren't the GT4s are relatively slow, man. They're all have less than 170 horsepower. The most powerful version of the Celica GT was the 7th gen, and that had 170 horsepower. Everything besides that has less than that. That's a very small horsepower number. Most cars nowadays, Corollas, Camrys, are making 200 horsepower, and these cars have less than that. They're also all front-wheel drive with naturally aspirated four-bangers, so it's kind of hard to even get power out of them. However, they are relatively quick around corners. You know, they weren't really built to be a straight-line speed car, so, you know, take them up to the twisties and you should have some fun with them. But people, you know, I would assume, look at a Celica GT and they're going to be like, yeah, that's a fast car, when in reality, you could probably gap it if you have a Corolla. On the complete other end of the spectrum, coming in at the number 12 spot is going to all Mopars. And let me explain. I'm going to make a whole community angry with that. Let me explain. Your guys' cars are incredible in a straight line. Okay, they are so fast in a straight line. I'm not racing any Mopar off a line. I'm not racing any Mopar in a drag race scenario. But when it comes to cornering, yeah, they suck. They're horrible. Even the Dodge Viper, which is, I guess, a Mopar. Wouldn't really classify that as a Mopar, but even that car, yes, it's a supercar, and yes, it's better at handling than the other Mopars, but even that one's tough to get the hang of. That's why people crash Vipers all the time, because they're not the easiest car to corner with. Mopars are good cars if you are, a drag racing kind of guy, or if you like the muscle car feel. But when you bring it to a track, these things are they're horrible. They are actually horrible. Okay, we're just like bouncing back and forth here, from like good in a straight line, but bad around corners, to bad around corners, but good in a straight line. I just said the same thing but reversed it, but you know what I mean. Because number 11 is a Subaru BRZ. The Subaru BRZ comes with a 2-liter flat 4 making 200 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive. I'm not going to be given the like engine and horsepower numbers and everything like that for every one of these cars. But the BRZs, again, just like I said with the Celica GTs, they look like they're fast little rocket ships, right? They're going to be quick in a straight line. But 200 horsepower, guys, is not a lot. Yes, the car is lightweight. And so that's why, people buy these cars, because they're really good at handling. Again, they're like the new Miata, they're just low horsepower, but they're lightweight and they're nimble, so they're really good around corners. But in straight lines, no, they're not. As a matter of fact, you see a BRZ on the road, as a normal person, you're probably going to think to yourself, wow, that car's way faster than mine, I can't beat it. But if you race it in a drag race and that thing's stock and your car's stock, you probably will beat it. Coming in at the number 10 spot is a little bit of a weird one. It's all the Volkswagen GTIs. Not the Golf Rs, because the Golf Rs are very quick, or the R32s, whatever all-wheel drive version of the Golf that they had back then. But not those ones, just the GTIs. And I think the reason why people think GTIs are so quick is because there are a lot of people that build GTIs, and they're a good car to build because they're kind of like a German version of a Civic, right? They have a good motor to build. You can get decent power out of it. It's not going to be breaking records for its power, but you can get decent power out of it. And most importantly, while you're modifying it, it's going to be reliable and comfortable and good on gas as a good daily driver. That's why people build them in the community. They're just a good package, but that doesn't mean that they're actually that fast. GTIs are just very middle of the road performance wise. They're not really anything special. They have a really cool history, and I'm not trying to take away from them from that, but they're really, performance wise, these things are just a hatchback. Coming in at the number 9 spot is going to a very specific car, the Honda Civic, but specifically the EG Civic. And the reason why people think that the EG Civic nowadays is so quick is because there are a lot of people that build them to be very quick. But stock, they are horribly slow. They come stock with a 1.6 liter inline 4 making 105 horsepower in its front wheel drive. That is a very small horsepower number. Okay, that's horribly slow. My Integra makes 140 horsepower, and that car struggles to reach 100. Okay, so these cars, yes, I get it. EG Civics aren't meant to stay stock anymore. Nobody keeps their EG Civics stock. I understand that, but they're not fast. These things are very, very, very slow stock. If you are going to get a Civic, I still think it's a good idea to look into the EGs because they do have a good platform for it. But I'm just saying, don't expect to be gapping anybody in a stock EG. Coming into the number 8 spot is going to a car that really doesn't have much going for it. However, it's incredibly popular for a reason. The BMW 328i E36, not the M3. Obviously, we all know the M3 E36 was a great car, and I love that car. The 328i E36 is the next best in line. This is the one that most people look for when they're trying to get an E36 because they can't afford an M3. And it's still a really good car. They come with a 2.8 liter inline 6, making 190 horsepower, and they are rear-wheel drive. I have said it before in my videos, and I'm going to say it again. I think this is an amazing option for like a first fun car. However, don't expect to go fast. Just because you see guys drifting E36s all the time and they're having a blast with it, yes, they are a fun car to drive, but you notice how you never really see 328i E36s drag racing? Or you see them on the track sometimes, but honestly not even that much there either. It's because the motor in them is just not the best for building power on. The platform itself isn't necessarily the best. It's just the reason why people buy these is they're a cheap rear-wheel drive platform to get into for drifting. Coming into the number 7 spot is going to a car that looks like a rocket ship, but is, again, just not that fast. It's like the BRZ. There's a lot of cars like that, you know, they look super quick, but they're just not. I guess that's kind of the whole point of this video, but it's a Toyota MR2 SW20. The SW, honestly, any MR2, people probably would mistake as a very fast car, but the SW20 is the one that we're talking about in particular today. And I think the reason why people think that these MR2s are so fast is because they're mid-engine. You know, they're mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, little tiny, they're very small Toyota sports cars from the 90s. These things look like they're ready to they look like little mini supercars. They really do. They look like mini Ferraris. And so when people see them, I guarantee they think, okay, that car's probably going to be wicked fast. But it only has 135 horsepower. It has 135 horsepower. It's lightweight, so again, it's a good, you know, handling car if that's what you're into. But straight line performance, it lacks. Now it's time for the king of the horrible in straight line performance, but great around corners. All the generations of the Mazda Miata, every one of them, NA, NB, NC, ND, all of them are just not that fast, guys. Okay, they're not. They all make less than 200 horsepower. Most of them make less than 140 horsepower, but I had to say all because the ND came out and made 200. The ND is still, I really like the ND. They are all-wheel drive, all rear-wheel drive. Wow, that was hard to say. They're all rear-wheel drive and very lightweight. They're literally the complete opposite of Mopars. They are incredible around corners. If you want to take an autocross car, they are the kings of autocross. You take a Miata to autocross, you're going to have a blast. In a straight line, though, they are horrible. They are absolutely horrible. And I would like to say, like, oh, you can modify it to make more power to get it. No, because even the gearing isn't meant to go fast either. So you're topping out at 100 no matter what you really do to the car. You have to change almost everything in a Miata to get it to go fast in a straight line. They're really wonderful cars. I've recommended them all the time. But yeah, they're just not fast in a straight line. I mean, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Coming in at the number 5 spot is going to one of my cars. Hey, buddy. The Acura Integra. Specifically, just the base models. No, we're not talking about the Type R. The Type Rs, honestly, could even end up on this list, too, because everybody's like, oh my god, the Type R. Like, people are buying Type R Integras for $25K nowadays, which is crazy. But even the, you know, base models are what we're talking about. My car. Comes with a 1.8 liter inline 4, making 140 horsepower, and it is front-wheel drive. Just like the EG Civic we talked about earlier, a lot of these Integras get built, and then once they get built, people are like, oh my god, this thing is so fast, I want an Integra. Don't expect that. You know, don't expect to be flying in a straight line when you first get these cars, because they do take work to make that fast. Yes, Hondas are really good for building power out of, but it still takes that work to do it. You know what I mean? And again, yes, these are lightweight. They're fun to rip around corners and stuff like that. But no, in a straight line, these things are not fast. Coming into the number 4 spot, this is actually the car that made me think about doing this list, because it's the Mitsubishi Lancers, but not the Evos. The Evos are incredible. Okay, we all know that. The Evos are super popular and they're an amazing car. The regular Lancers, no. They all make less than 200 horsepower. All of them. Almost all of them are front-wheel drive. I think there's a couple that are all-wheel drive. They're not that light, you know. They're not that great at handling. They're pretty much the same weight as an Evo, but with significantly less power, way worse suspension. It is a daily driver. Lancers were not meant, just the base model Lancers, those were not meant to be a race car. That's why they made the Evolution. People think that like, oh, okay, well, if I don't have Evo money, I'll just buy this Lancer and have the exact same performance. That's not the case. Are Lancers still good cars? Yeah, they're still great cars, and you can still definitely have a lot of fun with a Lancer, but they are not anywhere close to an Evo. Not anywhere close. Coming in at third place, however, is going to the Porsche Boxster 986. But honestly, even the new Boxster could be here too. But we're going to talk about the 986 because it's even it's like the pinnacle, like old person car that like they think that they have like a 911 GT3 RS, but in reality it's just a Boxster. They come with a 2.7 liter flat six, making 217 horsepower, and they are rear wheel drive. They're very, 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 very slow in almost every regard. Slow in a straight line, pretty slow around corners, because the reason if you want to go fast around corners in this platform, just get a Cayman. The Cayman is much better for that. It's not a convertible, so it has much better aerodynamics on it. Even the Cayman though itself isn't really that fast. These cars are entry-level sports cars, to be honest. But since they see the Porsche badging and it looks like a 911, you know, at first glance you would look at a Boxster or a Cayman and think, oh, that's a Carrera S, or at least, you know, a Carrera S or something like that. But they're just not even close to the performance as those cars. Coming in at second place is, in my opinion, the most shocking one on this list, because I used to think these were fast too, but it's the DMC DeLorean. Yeah, these things are horribly slow. These things are not even horribly slow, they are just horrible cars. They're unreliable, they're not fast, they're uncomfortable, they're big and heavy, so they're not good around corners, they're unreliable. Everything about them is absolutely horrible. The DMC DeLorean, if it wasn't for Back to the Future, this car would have gone down in history as just an absolute failure of a car. They come with a 2.9 liter V6, making 130 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. Yes, 130 horsepower in an incredibly heavy, not good car whatsoever. The DMC DeLorean looks futuristic, and obviously people see the Back to the Future movies and immediately think, oh yeah, that car's got to be pretty quick. No, it's not. I mean, most car guys at this point are starting to realize the DMC DeLorean isn't fast, but oh my god, the amount of normal people probably think this thing is ridiculously quick. But coming in at first place is a car that even gets the most seasoned veterans of the wonderful car world, the BMW i8. Yes, this thing is slow. Now, I want to make sure that you guys understand, this is not, like, this car is not slow compared to the rest of the cars we've been talking about. It's still, yes, a supercar, and yes, it is still very quick. But for what it looks like and for what people think, like, expect it to be like, it is slow. It comes with a 1.5 liter hybrid inline 3, which is a very cool motor, and I honestly got to give BMW credit for that part. But it only makes 369 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. But that's just really not enough, man. You're paying supercar prices for a car. Let's say you have the amount of money to buy an i8. What is that, like 100K? Let's say 100K. You can also buy an Audi R8. You can buy a GTR, any Corvette. There's so many options that make like 600 horsepower, almost double this, that are more reliable, in my opinion, look better, handle a lot better. They're just so much better than the i8. But the i8 itself, it looks really cool. It looks futuristic and like an actual supercar, and it's just not. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the top 13 cars that look fast but are actually horribly slow. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. I don't know if you guys live in New England or not, but oh my god, what has been going on with the weather? It is ridiculous, dude. I am burning up. I went outside today. We have a pool, so I was gonna go outside and go in the pool, but then I realized I have a lot of YouTube work to do, so I came right back in, and I was so mad that I didn't get to go in the pool. I was so mad. I was sitting down here like trying to write out it's 6:08 p.m. for reference. I got back in at like 5:15, and I was just sitting here just steaming before making this video. Oh my god, I was so frustrated. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hate the weather. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.